In the vast universe of firearms, there exists a collection of strange, inventive, and often eccentric designs that pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible in their time. These guns, whether born out of necessity, whimsy, or sheer creativity, present a fascinating look into the evolution of firearms. Let's explore some of these most bizarre firearms you may not know about. Number 1. Puckle gun. The puckle gun, invented by British inventor James Puckle in 1718, was a flintlock revolver that functioned as a primitive machine gun. Puckle's design had a revolving cylinder that held multiple charges, allowing the user to fire multiple times without reloading, a novel concept in the early 18th century. However, what made the puckle gun really bizarre was its intended use. It had two types of ammunition-round bullets for Christians and square bullets for Turks and heathens, based on the belief that square bullets would cause more pain. Number 2. Duck's foot pistol. Named for its distinct visual resemblance to a duck's foot, the duck's foot pistol was a type of flintlock revolver that came into existence in the late 18th century. It had 4 barrels arranged in a splayed pattern that could fire simultaneously, allowing the user to engage multiple targets at once. This made it ideal for use by prison guards or naval officers who were faced with potential mass uprisings in confined spaces. Despite its practical application, the strange design, widespread, and limited range made the duck's foot pistol an oddity in the firearms world. Number 3. Apache revolver. The Apache revolver, designed in France in the late 19th century, stands as a testament to a unique blend of functionality and compactness. Favored by the dangerous Apache street gangs of Paris, this firearm was a curious blend of a revolver, a dagger, and a set of brass knuckles. This trifecta of offensive options gave its user a versatile tool for urban combat. The revolver component lacked a barrel, and its 6-shot cylinder fired low-velocity .44 caliber rounds, offering effective damage only at point-blank range. When the firearm was folded, the grip doubled as brass knuckles, and the blade served as a rudimentary, yet deadly, knife. Despite its adaptability, the Apache revolver's inaccuracy and limited range made it less desirable as a firearm, qualifying it as one of the more bizarre weapons of its era. Number 4. LeMat revolver. The LeMat revolver was a unique firearm designed by Jean-Alexandre LeMat of New Orleans. This Confederate-used handgun from the American Civil War had 2 barrels, with the primary barrel designed for .42 or .36 caliber bullets, and the secondary barrel functioning as a 20-gauge smoothbore barrel for buckshot. This 9-shot revolver had a manual toggle to select the firing barrel, making it a versatile weapon in close-quarters combat. Despite its innovative design and firepower, the LeMat revolver's complexity, weight, and size made it a peculiar firearm in the annals of gun history. Number 5. Key gun. The LeMat revolver, a creation of the New Orleans-based Dr. Jean-Alexandre LeMat, was a unique multi-barrel firearm used during the American Civil War. What set the LeMat apart was its configuration. It had a 9-shot .42 or .36 caliber cylinder, and beneath that, a secondary 20-gauge smoothbore barrel for firing buckshot. With a flick of a lever, the shooter could switch between fast pistol fire or a devastating close-range buckshot blast. This made it particularly favored by high-ranking Confederate officers, including the legendary Jeb Stuart. However, the LeMat was heavy, difficult to manufacture, and suffered from reliability issues. Despite its innovative design, the practical challenges surrounding this revolver and its unusual dual functionality earmarked the LeMat revolver as one of the more eccentric firearms in history. Number 6. The duck-billed musket. In the 18th century, British forces made use of a distinctive firearm known as the duck-billed musket, also called the blunderbuss. This weapon was notable for its unique flared muzzle, resembling a duck's bill, which was designed to disperse shot at a wide angle. This made it particularly devastating at close range, similar to a shotgun. It was widely used in naval warfare, as its widespread shot could effectively repel boarders. Soldiers also found it handy in situations where multiple enemies were charging, such as in street fights or during ambushes. Despite its wide spread, it was inherently inaccurate beyond a close range due to the scattering of the shot. The duck-billed musket, with its odd duckbill-shaped muzzle and specialized use, certainly qualifies as one of the more unusual firearms in history. Number 7. The glove pistol. The glove pistol, officially known as the Sedgley OSS .38 glove pistol, is one of the more unique and covert weapons of World War II. Developed by Stanley M. Haight of the Sedgley Company for the U.S. Navy's Office of Strategic Services, OSS, this weapon was designed to be worn like a glove, with the firearm part resting on the back for U.S. Marine raiders landing on Pacific Islands to have a stealthy weapon for close encounters. Despite its unique design and intended use, the glove pistol was not widely distributed due to its limited practicality and the danger it posed to the user, making it a fascinating yet bizarre entry in the annals of firearms history. Number 8. Cane gun. The cane gun, also known as the walking stick gun or the poacher's gun, was a type of disguised firearm that became popular in the 18th and 19th centuries. These concealed weapons were typically designed as walking canes, but housed a single-shot firearm within. The trigger was often ingeniously hidden within the grip of the cane, allowing the user to fire the weapon unexpectedly. Popular among gentlemen, these weapons allowed for concealed carry in an era when it was increasingly frowned upon to openly carry firearms in public. Some cane guns were even designed to fire when the cane was sharply wrapped on the ground, adding to their stealthy nature. Despite their novelty and elegance, cane guns were limited by their single-shot design and the practical difficulty of reloading, qualifying them as one of the more unusual firearms in history. Number 9. Elgin Cutlass Pistol. The Elgin Cutlass pistol is a historically notable firearm due to its dual functionality. Patented by George Elgin in 1837, it combined a single-shot .54 caliber pistol with a Bowie knife. It was intended as a boarding weapon for sailors who could use the firearm at a distance, and then the blade in closer quarters. The pistol had a distinctive curved blade attached under the barrel, extending from the grip. The U.S. Navy purchased a small number for the Wilkes South Seas expedition of 1838. However, the Elgin Cutlass pistol's unwieldy nature, combined with the impracticality of its dual-use design, made it an oddity. Despite its innovative intentions, it remains an eccentric firearm seldom replicated in future designs. Number 10. Ring gun. The ring gun, also known as Le Petit Protecteur, is a marvel of miniature firearm design from the 19th century. This tiny concealable weapon was designed to be worn like a piece of jewelry, with the revolver mechanism built into a ring. The ammunition for this curious weapon was equally diminutive, being just 2 mm or 4 mm pinfire. Although the ring gun had a functional cylinder and trigger, its minuscule size significantly limited its power and effective range. The weapon was primarily intended for close-quarters self-defense, allowing the wearer to fire at an assailant with a punch. Despite the ingenuity in its design, the inherent limitations and impracticality of the ring gun make it a bizarre and fascinating footnote in the history of firearms. Number 11. The Broom-handle Mauser. The Broom-handle Mauser, formerly known as the Mauser C96, is a semi-automatic pistol that was produced by German arms manufacturer Mauser from 1896 to 1937. It earned its colloquial name broom handle due to its distinctive round wooden handle that resembles the end of a broomstick. The C96 is unusual in many ways. It had an integral box magazine in front of the trigger, which was loaded using a clip, unlike most pistols that have detachable magazines. The C96 also came with a wooden holster that could double as a shoulder stock. Despite its unusual design, the C96 was quite successful and has been used in various conflicts around the world. The Broom-handle Mauser's distinct design and significant influence on semi-automatic pistol development make it an interesting yet odd piece in firearm history. Number 12. Korobov TKB-022. The Korobov TKB-022 is a series of prototype assault rifles developed by Russian designer Gennady Nikonov between 1962 and 1965. This firearm is noted for its bullpup design, wherein the action and magazine are located behind the trigger, which allows for a shorter overall weapon length without sacrificing barrel length. What makes the TKB-022 particularly unique and unusual is its layout. It was one of the first firearms to utilize a forward ejection system designed to make the rifle ambidextrous. Spent casings were directed forward through a tube running alongside the barrel. This helped to prevent hot casings from hitting the shooter's face when the gun was fired, particularly useful for left-handed shooters. Despite the TKB-022's innovative design, it was never adopted for mass production, largely due to its complexity and concerns about reliability under harsh conditions. Its unusual design and forward-thinking features make the Korobov TKB-022 an interesting yet unusual entry in the history of firearms. Number 13. The harmonica gun. The harmonica gun, named for its distinctive harmonica-like block of chambers, was an early form of repeater firearm developed during the 19th century. The design featured a rectangular bar containing multiple chambers, typically between 5 to 10, which moved laterally along the action after each shot, bringing a new chamber into alignment with the barrel. The user manually pushed the block from side to side to load and fire each round. It was an early attempt at creating a multi-shot firearm that could be fired multiple times without needing to reload. Despite its ingenuity, the harmonica gun had several drawbacks. The harmonica block was heavy and unbalanced, and the manual nature of its operation was slow and cumbersome. Although a few famous gunsmiths like Jonathan Browning, father of the legendary John Moses Browning, made harmonica guns, they never gained widespread acceptance. These unusual firearms are now considered a fascinating oddity in the development of repeating firearms. Number 14. The Chicago Palm Pistol. The Chicago Palm Pistol, patented in 1882, stands as one of the more unique firearms in history due to its unconventional design and operation mechanism. This peculiar firearm was designed to fit within the palm of a hand, just as the name suggests. The circular configuration was intended to be more ergonomic, reducing the risk of accidental discharge and eliminating the need for aim. The pistol was a single-shot weapon, chambered for a .32 rimfire cartridge. To load it, you would swivel the firearm, insert the cartridge, and then close it. Firing the weapon involved squeezing it with the whole hand, making it far less intuitive than pulling a trigger. This design was meant to be especially useful for those with disabilities or limited hand strength. One of the fascinating facets of the Chicago Palm Pistol was its recognition by the U.S. government as a potential medical device. It was advertised as a self-defense tool suitable for people with rheumatism who couldn't operate a conventional firearm. However, due to its limited capacity, complex operation, and relatively weak stopping power, the Chicago Palm Pistol never gained significant popularity. Its unconventional design, ambitious purpose, and limited success make it a bizarre yet noteworthy entry in the history of firearms. Number 15. Zip gun. The zip gun is a generic term for any improvised firearms. These homemade firearms are typically assembled from readily available parts such as pipes, rubber bands, and nails, making them highly variable in design, function, and safety. The most basic form of a zip gun is a pipe gun, comprising a barrel made from a metal pipe and a cap with a firing pin, usually a nail. A round is inserted in the pipe, and the weapon is fired by striking the cap. Despite their crude design, zip guns can be lethal, as they can fire conventional ammunition. The necessity to manufacture these improvised firearms often arises in environments where traditional firearms are unavailable or prohibited, such as inside prisons or in countries with strict gun laws. They represent the epitome of necessity-driven innovation in the world of firearms. However, the lack of precision and safety in the manufacturing process makes these guns quite dangerous. As such, while they serve as an interesting exploration of ingenuity under desperate circumstances, zip guns are considered highly unconventional and unsafe, thus occupying a bizarre niche in the overall history of firearms. Number 16. Gabbett Fairfax Mars. The Gabbett Fairfax Mars, often simply known as the Mars, is a semi-automatic pistol developed by the British company Gabbett Fairfax in the early 20th century. Named after the Roman god of war, the Mars pistol was an attempt to produce a high-powered military sidearm. What makes the Mars particularly unique is its colossal size, powerful round, and a complex long recoil mechanism. The Mars was chambered in several large calibers, with the .45 Mars long being the most potent. This round was significantly more powerful than contemporary pistol cartridges and produced a massive amount of recoil, making the Mars notorious for its difficult handling. In fact, the recoil was so significant that it led to the pistol being described as singularly unpleasant to shoot by those who tested it. The Mars's long recoil operation was unusual for a pistol, adding to its complexity and bulk. When fired, both the barrel and bolt recoiled together for a distance greater than the length of the cartridge before separating and returning to battery. This resulted in a distinct double-kick recoil impulse that, combined with the already powerful round, further compounded the Mars's handling issues. Despite its innovative features, the Mars was too large, too complex, and too unwieldy to be a practical sidearm. Fewer than 100 were ever made, and the British Army rejected it after testing due to its extreme recoil and complexity. Its impressive ambition, coupled with its practical shortcomings, make the Gabbett Fairfax Mars a fascinating and bizarre footnote in the history of firearms. Number 17. Boarding pikes. Technically speaking, boarding pikes aren't firearms, but they were a crucial part of naval warfare for centuries, and often used in tandem with early firearms, warranting their inclusion in this discussion. Boarding pikes were long, spear-like weapons typically used to repel boarders during naval engagements in the Age of Sail. Boarding pikes were simple yet effective. Consisting of a wooden shaft around 6 to 8 feet long topped with a steel spike, they were designed to keep enemies at a distance. Sailors on a ship being boarded would form ranks, pointing their pikes at any invaders attempting to climb aboard. The goal was to create an impenetrable wall of spikes that would deter any boarders, similar to a phalanx formation. Where firearms come into play is how boarding pikes were often used in combination with them. Marines and sailors would fire muskets and pistols at approaching enemy sailors, then switch to their boarding pikes as the enemies got closer. This allowed them to keep the enemy at bay while their comrades reloaded their firearms. While boarding pikes fell out of use as naval warfare evolved and became more focused on artillery and later aircraft, they represent a fascinating era of history where firearms and more traditional weapons were used side by side. As such, while not a firearm themselves, boarding pikes stand as an interesting and somewhat unusual part of naval combat history. Number 18. FP-45 Liberator. The FP-45 Liberator is a unique firearm in history, notable not for its advanced design or superior firepower, but for its simplicity, mass production, and the unconventional nature of its intended use. Manufactured by the United States during World War II, the Liberator was designed to be a cheaply produced, easily distributed weapon to arm resistance fighters and partisans in occupied territories. The FP-45 was a single-shot, smooth-bore pistol chambered in .45 ACP. Its design was extremely rudimentary, made entirely from stamped sheet metal parts, with the exception of a cast metal cocking piece and a few small components. It had a short, unrifled barrel, a cocking knob on the left side, and an extremely simple grip that held a single round in storage. In a sense, the Liberator could be seen as the ultimate expression of simplicity in firearms design. Its operation was equally simple. The user would cock the firing pin, insert a single round into the chamber at the rear, close the breech, aim, and then manually release the striker to fire the weapon. With no extractor, spent casings had to be manually removed with a wooden dowel stored in the pistol grip. Approximately 1 million FP-45s were produced, with the idea of dropping them behind enemy lines for use by resistance fighters. The idea was that the weapon could be used to dispatch an enemy soldier quietly, and then his more powerful weapon could be taken. Each Liberator came with a comic strip-style instruction sheet demonstrating its use, as it was expected the end user might not speak English or even be literate. In practice, the Liberator was never widely distributed or used as intended. Its range and accuracy were extremely limited, and its single-shot, slow-to-reload design made it less than ideal for any form of combat. However, its psychological impact, the idea that anyone could have a hidden weapon to use against occupying forces, was its true purpose. Despite, or perhaps because of, its limitations, The FP-45 Liberator has become an iconic symbol of resistance, a testament to the power of mass production, and one of the most unusual firearms in history. Its simplicity, cheap production, and the strategic thought behind its distribution make it a standout example of unconventional weapons design. Number 19. Punt gun. Among the more unusual firearms in history is the punt gun, a type of extremely large shotgun used for duck hunting in the 19th and early 20th centuries. The name punt gun originates from the fact that these colossal guns were often mounted on punts, which are small, flat-bottomed boats. Punt guns were extraordinarily large, with some measuring over 10 feet in length and weighing up to 140 pounds. They were typically muzzle-loaded and used black powder, similar to the muskets of the era. However, what sets punt guns apart was their bore size, which could be over 2 inches in diameter, and the sheer number of projectiles they fired. A single shot could hold over a pound of shot and could theoretically take out dozens of waterfowl at a time. This resulted in a highly efficient, albeit brutally unselective, method of hunting. A single shot could yield a large number of birds, making it an attractive option for market hunters looking to maximize their haul. Some reports suggest that an experienced punt gun operator could gather over 50 birds with a single shot. However, the use of punt guns led to concerns about overhunting and contributed to the decline of waterfowl populations in many areas. This, combined with the inherent danger and impracticality of operating such a massive firearm, led to restrictions and eventual bans on punt guns in many places. Today, punt guns are largely relics of a bygone era, with few operational examples remaining. Many are displayed in museums, often drawing attention due to their extreme size. They stand as a testament to the lengths people have gone in pursuit of efficiency in hunting, and their impact on hunting regulations and conservation efforts cannot be understated. As such, the punt gun is not just an oddity, but also a significant piece in the history of firearms and hunting. Despite its bizarre nature and controversial legacy, the punt gun represents a fascinating chapter in the relationship between humanity, firearms, and wildlife. Number 20. Nock gun. The nock gun stands out in firearm history due to its distinctive 7-barreled flintlock design. Commissioned by the British Royal Navy and produced by British gunmaker Henry Nock in the late 18th century, it was intended for use in ship-to-ship combat to repel boarders. The 7 barrels were arranged in a hexagonal configuration, all fired simultaneously by a single flintlock mechanism. This design allowed for a substantial spread, theoretically capable of taking out multiple targets in a single shot. However, the nock gun was far from perfect. The recoil produced by 7.50 caliber musket loads firing simultaneously was brutal, often causing injury to the user. Furthermore, the gun's large muzzle blast made it a hazard in close quarters or near flammable materials, significant drawbacks on wooden sailing ships. Despite its flaws and relatively short service life, the nock gun remains an iconic and unusual firearm due to its unique multi-barreled design.